You're watching our special broadcast of the Buck Stops here tonight from Kanpur. Remember, for the last several weeks, this show has been on the road to 2014, traveling through India's political heartland, through the key constituencies, bringing you ground reports, voices that you never hear in the Delhi, breaking free from the mold of the studio. We promised you we'd always be in the field, and we've kept that promise. Tonight, we are broadcasting from Kanpur, from the historic Lal Imli textile mill that you can see right behind me. Almost a heritage site that was set up in 1876 by the British India Corporation. Kanpur, of course, is seeing a high-pitched battle between Sri Prakash Jaiswal of the Congress Party and Murli Manohar Joshi of the BJP. But on the program today, we have staggering figures coming in of the voter turnout. Everywhere that voting has taken place today, voting has been much higher than before. Delhi, in fact, has seen its highest turnout in 25 years. What is also significant is that in riot-hit Western UP, we are seeing a dramatic increase in turnout. Does this point to a religious polarization? Our focus on the program today will be to ask whether this election is the most vitriolic we have ever seen. It's fashionable to say that this election is about development, that aspirational India no longer cares about identity politics. But is that really the truth? The fact of the matter is that if you look at the language being used in this campaign, you have to remember Shakespeare. Fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and the filthy air. Does that describe the election campaign of 2014? That will be our big debate on the program tonight. And we'll have two very special guests, Digvijay Singh and Subramaniam Swamy, facing off in just a minute. Also coming up on the program today, an interview here in Kanpur with the chairman of the BJP's Manifesto Committee on a day when Rahul Gandhi has accused the Congress of aping its manifesto. जब कांग्रेस के राहुल गांधी कहते हैं भाई बीजेपी हमारी नकल उतारती है, आप क्या कहेंगे उनको?
ऐसा है कि ये नकलचियों को ही हमेशा सोचता है कि नकल का सवाल, ये तो उनकी अपनी जो मानसिकता है, their own mental frame, because they have been copying sometimes from the West, sometimes from the IMF, sometimes from the European Union. इसलिए उनको लगता है कि शायद हर चीज दुनिया में नकल होती है। नहीं, हमारे पास अकल है, हम अकल से काम करते हैं।
अकल से नकल से नहीं,
नकल के लिए भी अकल चाहिए। वो उनके पास इत्तेफाक से वो उनके पास बिल्कुल ही नहीं है।
From Kanpur tonight, let's get started with our main focus on the program this evening. A dramatic increase in turnouts everywhere. Delhi seeing its highest turnout in 25 years, but also a dramatic increase in Western UP in the riot-hit areas of Muzaffarnagar and Kairana. A dramatic increase even in Shamli. Everywhere people have turned out to vote in larger numbers. On the one hand, this should be seen as a celebration of democracy. But while it is that, the fact of the matter is that we have seen an ugly campaign, a vitriolic campaign, where every day, whether it's Azam Khan or Amit Shah, we are seeing a plummeting level of discourse when it comes to decency. Tonight, we're going to ask whether fair is foul and foul is fair. Is this the most vitriolic campaign ever? Is this a polarized and a personalized election campaign? And are Amit Shah and Azam Khan two sides of the same mirror? Has the Congress gone too far, crossing the line of decency in raising Narendra Modi's marital status as an election issue? Joining us now are two of the most outspoken political leaders in both their respective parties. They often hit headlines and controversy. We're joined by senior leader of the Congress and its General Secretary Digvijay Singh. We're also joined from the BJP by its senior leader Subramaniam Swamy, whose tweets are often provocative and controversial. Let me start with you, Digvijay Singh. How do you assess this election campaign? Do you believe that we are seeing one of the ugliest campaigns that we have seen in recent memory? Is this one of the most polarized election campaigns? And if you believe it is, don't all parties have to step up to the plate and take the blame? Because in every party, we have seen instances of mixing religion with politics. We have seen instances of inflammatory speeches.
But I would like to remind you that BJP has been using religion to polarize the body politic of this country. If you see their Ram Janmabhoomi campaign and now the Cobra post sting operation has clearly brought out, and Justin Lieberman also has confirmed the facts, that the VHP went out to the extent of saying that until some Hindus are killed in the agitation will not pick up. And now also you see, I've always been saying that in Uttar Pradesh politics, BJP and Samajwadi Party, they love polarization, and they encourage by their speeches, by their comments, to polarize the situation. Now, if you take the issue of Muzaffarnagar,
yes.
the government in the state government could have easily prevented the riots to take place, but
yes.
they did not. Now, I strongly condemn the statement of Mr. Amit Shah and Mr. Azam Khan both. Both made provocative statements to polarize the body politic of this Western UP. And the Congress party has always fought the fundamentalists of the Hindus and the fundamentalists of Muslims.
But Digvijay Singh, you said Azam Khan and Amit Shah both have your condemnation, but we also have questions of the Congress mixing religion with politics, Sonia Gandhi's meeting with Imam Bukhari. We are going to come to that in just a moment, but I want Subramaniam Swamy to respond to what you have said. Subramaniam Swamy, you hear Digvijay Singh talking about the BJP and the Samajwadi Party both chasing polarization in Uttar Pradesh. And if you see the turnouts today in West UP, the dramatic increase in turnout, it does seem to indicate, and from the ground, I've been traveling there over the last week, from the ground, it does seem that there is a polarization along religious lines, be it the Jats on one side and the Muslims on the other. When Amit Shah and Azam Khan both call for Badla, Subramaniam Swamy, what's the difference between them?
Well, I think as far as the polarization is concerned, it's in Muzaffarnagar, it's an outcome of the communal riot that took place. And any riot that takes place at any time, if you see it for the last 30 years, has always led to the polarization of the electorate of that area. Now, as far as Amit Shah is concerned, he certainly used the word revenge, but it was in the context of pressing a button in the electronic voting machine. He said, you want to take revenge, this is the election where you have to show. I don't think he explicitly said that you should take to violence to get your revenge. So it's a very great misrepresentation, and it's now before the Election Commission. Let them pronounce their verdict. Now, as far as the
but Dr. Swamy, just to clarify, you are saying, initially the BJP defended Amit Shah's statements, but the latest letter from the BJP to the Election Commission says Amit Shah's tapes are doctored. He was talking about Badlav, not Badla, that the word Badla was inserted. If the tapes were doctored according to the BJP, why did the party defend his initial remarks?
Well, I'm saying that even if he said Badla, he said it in the context of voting against the Samajwadi Party and the Congress Party. And if there is been a tape distortion or a doctoring, that the Election Commission will have to answer, and that will only make my case stronger. I would say that, after all, you see, in Kerala, their candidate in Trivandrum, he went and met the Pentecostal people and said, you should please ask in your Sunday sermons the Christians to vote for the Congress. And the Catholic Bishop Council has held a meeting in which they said that now all the churches of the Catholic Church in India should ask for voting for the Congress Party. And of course, as you mentioned, the Imam, no great symbol of secularism. He was taken in a secret meeting. It was discovered in the residence of Ms. Sonia Gandhi, where specifically he was asked as a Muslim to make an appeal to the Muslims. While in the case of Ramdev and Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, they never made an appeal to the Hindus to vote as Hindus. You see, so there is a fundamental difference.
Let me take that to Digvijay Singh.
And that has been understood.
Let me take that to Digvijay Singh. Digvijay Singh, is the problem that polarization is a crime that every party is guilty of, because every party has mixed religion with politics. The Congress is quoting imams, the BJP is quoting Swamis, but Subramaniam Swami says even Baba Ramdev, while batting for the BJP, has never asked all Hindus to vote for the party, but Imam Bukhari is asking all Muslims to vote for the Congress. Similarly, when I was in Muzaffarnagar, while I think there are deep problems with the language used by Azam Khan and Amit Shah, even Qaida Rana of the BSP, I heard his speech, he was openly asking Muslims to vote on the basis of their religion. So is the problem that everyone is guilty, including the Congress party? How do you explain Sonia Gandhi's meeting with the Imam Bukhari, who is, as Subramaniam Swami says, hardly a symbol of secularism?
As far as Imam Bukhari is concerned, when anyone seeks appointment with the Congress president, be it Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, she has to give appointment. After all, she has been meeting all cross-section of people. But has she appealed on the basis of any religion? Now, as far as Mr. Subramaniam Swami goes, there have been inflammatory writings by him, inflammatory speeches by him, and he has given a commitment in the High Court to say that he will not make any such speeches. But the fact remains,
that's a false. That's
he
false.
has been saying
that's false.
He's been, of course. No, let me finish. He
Yeah,
has
don't
been
misquote
saying
what the High Court has said.
defamatory statements. His writings has been highly communal, and he has been one of the main spokespersons of this the communal divide as far as BJP is concerned, and this Hindu religious fundamentalism concerned.
Let me get Subramaniam Swami on this. Subramaniam Swami, is there an ideological disconnect, or is it a deliberate strategy by the BJP that while, for example, your manifesto, it has a half-page reference to the Ram Mandir, to the Ram Setu, focusing 90% on economics, on development, on a modern vision for India. But on the ground, you have speeches by Amit Shah that speak of Badla. You have speeches by Amit Shah that speak of Bhikaris becoming Karorpatis from butcher khanas, which is an obvious swipe at Muslims. Now, let's take your tweets yourself. You've spoken about the Babri Masjid being built by foreigners. I mean, isn't this completely inflammatory, the kind of comments that you are making? And isn't this a complete variance with what the BJP is trying to project when it tries to project Modi as a man of Vikas?
Well, Babar was certainly a foreigner, and Mir Baqi was also a foreigner. And it is they who built the masjid by demolishing a temple. So there is nothing derogatory about calling them a foreigner. That's a fact of the matter. Secondly, in Saudi Arabia, it has been made clear to me personally when I spoke to the clerics there and to the ambassador here that they don't consider masjid as a religious place. They consider it as a facilitation center for reading namaz. And in Saudi Arabia, they break masjids all the time to build roads and buildings. And even in Pakistan, they do that. So that's all I said.
So are you defending the demolition? Are you defending the demolition? Are you defending the demolition? Are you defending the 1992 demolition?
I am taking the stand that any government has a right through the concept of a public purpose, as the Supreme Court Constitutional Bench of 1994 said, demolish a masjid. And I also want to say that the temple built according to the Agama Shastra is always a temple, and these are also judgments of the not only the Indian Supreme Court but also of the House of Lords. So therefore, I am saying that there is a fundamental difference between a temple and a masjid, and a masjid can be demolished and built somewhere else, as they do in Saudi Arabia all the time and other Arab countries. And it's not in the same status as a temple. But we are not Saudi Arabia.
We are a pluralistic secular. We are not Saudi Arabia, thankfully.
Well, we have to go by. And
the way to bring down mosques is not by violence, which even L.K. Advani called the sanctity of his life.
Now wait a minute. I had said that the government has a right for a public purpose to demolish a masjid. I didn't say that any mob can take over and demolish it. I don't know what happened in Babri Masjid thing, just because somebody comes out with a tape and the tape has a scroll that we cannot vouch for the authenticity of the tape. We have a commission, we have a court case which is going on. Let that court case say that this was a deliberate act of vandalism that took place. I am not on the question of whether Babri Masjid was demolished right or wrongly in 1992.
Okay.
I am only saying that conceptually the masjid cannot be taken, have the same status as a temple.
Okay, let me bring Digvijay Singh in. Digvijay Singh, respond to the fact that the Congress has lost its moral high ground to critique the BJP on issues of secularism because there is a selective anger, because you do not respond to Azam Khan with the same ferocity that you will respond to Amit Shah, because even when Imran Masood of Saharanpur talks about breaking Narendra Modi into little bits, the party condemns it, but Rahul Gandhi still goes for the rally that day, and Imran Masood's wife is on the stage. How do you explain what the BJP calls the Congress's selective outrage?
First of all, let me point out, Barkha, that in Gujarat, if you see the statements of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, they have alleged so many temples have been brought down by Modi government in its own state of Gujarat. So let us not get into this. Both are places of worship. Both have their own sanctity. And I don't know what public purpose was served by demolishing the mosque. As far as the other issue is concerned, Congress party has condemned the statement of Mr. Amit Shah, of Imran Masood and Mr. Azam Khan. All three of them, and also at the same time Varun Gandhi also, because we don't support any kind of a statement which sort of gives an indication of violence or which is against any religious group.
But sir, why quote Imam Bukhari? He's hardly a progressive Muslim face. Imam Bukhari is not a progressive Muslim face.
Certainly not. Certainly not. But at the same time, can you stop someone from making a statement? Did the Congress party ever use religion as an issue in politics or in the elections?
Well,
and if you see the statements,
there's a long history of the Rajiv Gandhi reversal of the Shah Bano judgment, sir. You know history better than I do. If we say Babri Masjid to the BJP, we have to say Shah Bano to the Congress.
Well, as far as Shah Bano was concerned, there was an issue which related to the amendment of an act which was done by the parliament.
Okay,
no,
I want to get you in. I want a Supreme Court judgment, and that was overturned by Rajiv Gandhi pushing it through Parliament.
Yeah.
My point is that history is filled with examples, Dr. Swami and Digvijay Singh. With due respect, history is filled with examples of both your parties having actually employed a very cynical mix of religion with politics when it has suited them. Let's look at the present situation. Digvijay Singh, we're asking whether this election is the ugliest we have seen in recent memory. Do you believe it was fair for the Congress, for example, to raise Narendra Modi's marital status, a marriage that happened before they were of legal age? I mean, tomorrow, if think of whether Indira Gandhi's own marriage with Feroz Gandhi should have come under the scanner. These are things that our politicians have never done. Why has the Congress done this today?
No. Barkha, first of all, let me point out few facts to you.
Yeah.
In every affidavit in form which he has, nomination form, Mr. Narendra Modi has signed in 2002, 2007, 2012. He has kept the column for marital status blank. Now, what does that mean? We have no issue. As far as Mr. Modi is concerned, if he says he's married, good. If he's not married, he should say so. But by keeping the column blank, no, one second.
Did you ever attack Atal Bihari Vajpayee for his personal life, which is also an unconventional living arrangement? This is an estranged marriage which took place before he was even 18, when they were children.
Will you please allow me to say that?
Yes.
We are not attacking him on his personal
course.
issue. He has subverted the law. The Supreme Court orders and the Election Commission orders clearly specify that no column should be left blank. His form should have been rejected by the returning officer. That is the issue I am raising. And if he is married, he should say so. Why in the who's who of Gujarat Assembly, members of Gujarat Assembly, for everyone else there is a column for marital status, but not for him? Why should he not accept the fact that he is married or he is divorced?
No,
Okay.
no.
Subramaniam Swamy, come in on
no.
that. The Congress is saying it's not about his personal life, it's about following the law.
Well, first of all, if he did follow the law, because the nomination papers were not rejected, and he cannot say the election commission was in the pocket of Mr. Modi. It's an election commission, and these forms were filled when the central government was a Congress. So therefore, if it is not a material thing, yes, age is a material factor. The Supreme Court judgments are there as to what is material in a nomination form, what is not material. Now, I give you an example of Ms. Sonia Gandhi claiming falsely that she had got a degree from the University of Cambridge. At that time, the congressman said, I should make this as a personal issue. Now, there also, she gave an affidavit, it's a sworn affidavit, that she had got a degree from the University of Cambridge, when it turned out it was not so. Subsequently, she has corrected it. She has stopped using University of Cambridge. Now, we have not made an issue after that, nor have we made an issue of Mr. Rahul Gandhi's marital status. We know what the problem is, but we are not making a public
Barkha,
issue
please,
of it.
for God's sake,
No, what does that mean? So what does that mean? Dr. Swamy, come on.
I would not like to participate in this kind of debate.
What does that mean?
What kind of
No,
debate
I
is
think
Mr. on this?
I am saying that
sorry, I strongly object to what he has been saying.
You may object. The fact is that if you can object to Mr. Modi leaving us blank,
I'm not going to stay on this if the clock starts like this.
All right, it's up to you.
No, I think Subramaniam Swamy, let's focus on the issues. Subramaniam Swamy, let's focus on the issues. It's not nice to talk about somebody's problem. And I mean, this is a very low level of discourse. Low level of discourse. That's the whole point.
You may say that he started it by raising this question. After all, in this country, sannyasis leave their wives and go. Nobody complains. They consider this as a
okay, let's stay on the issue. Let's stay on the issue. Let's stay on the issue. Okay, let's return to the issues of how much polarization there is in this election. Digvijay Singh, I want to ask you something. I've been following your tweets and your blogs very carefully. You have also spoken about how you do not support cow slaughter. When you were Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, you were accused of running a soft Hindutva campaign. So I want to ask you, in 2014, when Amit Shah, for example, in his Shamli speech, he spoke provocatively about how bhikari hote the, wo ab crorepati ban gaye hain butcher khanon se. Now, the Congress didn't say much about this because even people like yourself believe that this is a valid issue. That's what you've said on Twitter. Should this be issues in 2014?
Certainly not. But the fact remains that ban on a cow slaughter was an issue with the Congress Working Committee even in the 30s and 40s. And it's my personal belief, but I'm not imposing it on anyone. But the fact remains that the maximum slaughterhouses permissions were granted during the NDA regime. That's also a fact.
My question is, sir, is it a relevant issue today? What I want to ask you, Dr. Swamy, you can respond 1 minute. Digvijay Singh, my question is something different. My question is, are these the issues that should matter to a new India?
Certainly not.
Yet you have also tweeted about them, and you've tweeted about them in the last couple of weeks. Yes.
No, the issue was that when Mr. Narendra Modi talks about the pink revolution, when Mr. Amit Shah makes this remark that butcher khane se bhikari amir ho gaye, what does it mean?
Yeah. Subramaniam Swamy, frankly, I heard that speech. Yeah, sorry, complete your point. Digvijay Singh, complete your point. Please complete your point.
What I'm trying to say is that I just wanted to put on record that whatever they may say about the pink revolution or the butcher khana fakir se amir, but the fact remains that the maximum permissions for starting slaughterhouses were given during the NDA regime, and that's a fact.
Subramaniam Swamy, look at this language of Amit Shah. Yeah. Look at this language. No, just I have a question. Look at the language. ये गंगा जमुना के एरिया में पशु बिल्कुल अब दिखते नहीं हैं. जो फकीर थे वो अब अमीर हो गए हैं. जो भिखारी थे वो अब करोड़पति बन गए हैं. Isn't this a swipe at Muslims who earn a living from running slaughterhouses? Isn't this in complete contradiction? Isn't this in complete contradiction? Isn't this in complete contradiction to the BJP's attempt to present its manifesto as development oriented?
Well, see, first of all, let me tell you, there are slaughterhouses which are owned by Hindus. There's one very well-known politician in Ghaziabad who has a slaughterhouse and cows are slaughtered there. We are not on the question of Muslims. There's no mention of Muslim in this. Let me say that Mahatma Gandhi had said, if I get power for even one day, the first thing I'll do is ban a slaughter of cows in India. And it's there
but
in the
Constitution. But there can be a different language.
India.
There can be a different language. Why do you have to say Bhikari se crorepati ban gaye?
It is a fact. It is a fact that cow slaughter has now become a big business. People are exporting beef from our country. We have become the largest exporter of beef in Asia today. I think this is a thing that has to be brought, and Mr. Amit Shah has brought it out in graphic language, but you can't call it obscene.
Okay, I'm going to ask both of you for last comments, and I'll start with you, Subramanian Swamy. The question is, will the real BJP please stand up? This is the question for the BJP. Will the real Mr. Modi please stand up? Is Mr. Modi a Vikas Purush? Is he a Vikas Purush? Is it all about development? Or there are people like yourselves who speak constantly of Hindutva. There is Uma Bharti who calls Hindutva the Pran of India. What is the BJP about? Is it a modern right-of-centre party, or is it still trapped in the archaic, discriminatory, majoritarian approach of the Sangh?
Well, I think the manifesto describes it that the priority today is development, and that's why the manifesto is largely devoted to the question of development. But we will not forget that we want a society in which there is a renaissance. It's very comfortable for people for talking about Muslims and Christians voting as a bloc. The moment you talk about Hindus voting as a bloc, there is an uproar in the country that this is communalism. Well, if Muslims as voting as a bloc is not communalism, and Christians voting as a bloc is not communalism, then Hindus being consolidated and voting as a bloc is also not communalism.
Okay. Digvijay Singh, last word to you. Is the problem that the parties that were once considered secular, that's a word that has become distorted and subverted? You have people like Mulayam Singh today justifying rape, saying boys will be boys. You have the Samajwadi Party, as you yourself have acknowledged, actually fanning the flames of polarization. You have Azam Khan talking about Muslim soldiers winning for Kargil, even not leaving religion out of the Indian army. Has secularism become a bad name because it has been abused by parties just to keep the BJP out?
Barka, first of all, let me tell you one thing. If you just see the campaign of Mr. Narendra Modi from 2002 till date, in 10 days of campaign, 8 days he will talk about development. In the last 2 days, he talks about Mia Musharraf, Mia Kayani and Mia Ahmed Patel. This is the kind of campaign he's been running throughout. And this in the last phase, they are bound to communalize this, and they have started the communalizing process in their campaign. So basically,
okay, what about the secular parties? What about the secular parties? Has that become a bad word? I'm saying it in quotes.
Barka, I have always stood up for my party. The Congress party has been fighting the forces of religious fundamentalism of Muslims and the Hindus at the same time, even before the independence and post-independence. We have never allied ourselves with any of these communal groups. And as far as Samajwadi Party or the BJP is concerned, I strongly blame the Samajwadi Party government in Uttar Pradesh for not having taken precautionary steps to prevent the riots in Muzaffarnagar.
But you have allied with Muslim League.
Okay, we'll have to leave this for another time. Subramanian Swamy, Digvijay Singh. We'll have to leave it here. Subramanian Swamy and Digvijay Singh, thanks for joining us on the buck stops here. This is a campaign, I suspect, that is going to get even more vitriolic. Thank you to both of you for joining us. And that gives you some sense that debate over how vitriolic and how intensely fought this campaign is going to be. Shifting our focus now as we broadcast from Kanpur in front of the historic Lal Imli mill that was built by the British in 1876. This is a constituency where Murli Manohar Joshi is fighting against Sri Prakash Jaiswal, who has, of course, been a 3-time member of parliament from here. But speaking to us on the campaign trail earlier, many of the questions that Murli Manohar Joshi took were on the BJP's manifesto on a day when Rahul Gandhi has accused the BJP of aping the Congress manifesto. Murli Manohar Joshi talking exclusively to us. The BJP's manifesto has become a talking point, a national talking point. It has received wide acclaim from several high-profile members, especially of India's business community, who have applauded it to be visionary, energetic and specific. It has received predictable criticism, of course, from the opposition. In fact, today, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi spent a long part of his speech in Rajasthan talking about the BJP manifesto, claiming that it is a cut and paste job of the Congress manifesto. Also, what is the essence of the BJP campaign and philosophy as it comes through the manifesto? Is Hindutva now a footnote from being a core issue? Has development and Vikas trumped identity politics? Joining us now is one of the senior most leaders of the BJP. He's been party president, he's a founder member of the BJP, and of course this time he's the chairman of the manifesto committee. We are broadcasting from Kanpur, where Murli Manohar Joshi, of course, is contesting the election. Joshi ji, thank you so much for talking to us. Let me start straight away by asking you, a frontal attack from Rahul Gandhi, who spends a long part of his Rajasthan speech attacking the BJP manifesto. और वो कहते हैं कि बीजेपी का जो मैनिफेस्टो है, उन्होंने कांग्रेस का हाथ का सिंबल हटाकर अपना कमल का सिंबल लगा दिया. उन्होंने 2-3 एग्जाम्पल दिए. उन्होंने कहा जहां तक राइट टू हेल्थ है, ये हमारा आइडिया है. जहां तक राइट टू फूड है, ये हमारा आइडिया है. जहां तक 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन की बात है, ये तो हम इंप्लीमेंट ही कर चुके हैं. What would you say, जोशी?
देखिए, first and foremost, I would say that there are many things which we were implementing as NDA government,
yes,
which are continuing as a flagship program of the UPA 1 and UPA 2, the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So that was a brainchild of the education minister or the HRD minister.
So you're saying the UPA copied the NDA, not the other way around?
Then this 1 rank 1 pension we talked even in 2009 manifesto.
लेकिन implement कांग्रेस कहती है हमने किया.
So then it means कि उन्होंने हमारा जो था उसको implement कर दिया, तो हमारी नकल ही तो की ना फिर. तो ये ऐसा है कि इतने बड़े मुल्क में जहाँ इतनी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, बहुत से मामलों में अगर किसी प्रोग्राम को एक ने शुरू किया और दूसरे ने उसको चालू रखा, तो उसको नकल नहीं कहा जाता. 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन उन्होंने इम्प्लीमेंट अभी क्या किया? मिला तो नहीं ना कुछ किसी को. वो तो कांग्रेस वाले तो इसमें बहुत ही, दे आर एक्सपर्ट in making promises, then easily forgetting.
The outgoing finance minister did put aside money for 1 rank 1 pension.
Yes. So then the question is that that budget is no budget. Whether it will see the light of the day or not, we don't know. And during this period, whether the scheme has been actually launched or not, उनसे पूछिए ना सैनिकों से कि भाई क्या हुआ, 1 रैंक 1 पेंशन का कोई आदेश आ गया, कोई कागज आ गया? नहीं. कि वो कहते हैं फूड सिक्योरिटी. हमने यूनिवर्सल फूड सिक्योरिटी की बात कही है. इन्होंने बहुत ही पार्शियल, बहुत कम लोगों के लिए फूड सिक्योरिटी की बात की. देयर इज अ कंसेप्चुअल डिफरेंस. व्हाट वी से इज दिस, दैट एवरीबॉडी इन दिस कंट्री हैज अ राइट टू फूड, whether he is below poverty line, whether he is APL. So food is a universal necessity and it is a human right. One has to live. Therefore, one has
so you're saying you're going beyond the right to
beyond
food.
The right. What we have said is a universal right. And secondly, we have given the ways to implement it. How the food security will be implemented. अनाज कैसे पैदा होगा, किस तरह से प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ेगी, किसान किस तरह से इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए आगे आएगा.
तो जब कांग्रेस के राहुल गांधी कहते हैं भाई बीजेपी हमारी नकल उतारती है, आप क्या कहेंगे उनको?
हम ऐसा है कि ये नकलचियों को ही हमेशा सोचता है कि नकल का सवाल. ये तो उनकी अपनी जो मानसिकता है, their own mental frame, because they have been copying sometimes from the West, sometimes from the IMF, sometimes from the European Union. इसलिए उनको लगता है कि शायद हर चीज दुनिया में नकल होती है. नहीं, हमारे पास अकल है, हम अकल से काम करते हैं.
अकल से नकल से नहीं.
नकल के लिए भी अकल चाहिए. वो उनके पास इत्तेफाक से वो उनके पास बिल्कुल ही नहीं है.
Let me ask you though, what is the essential ideological difference between the BJP manifesto and the Congress manifesto, apart from the section on cultural heritage, which we will come to later? जहां तक economic policies की बात करें, क्या फर्क है?
देखिए, बहुत सारा फर्क है. हमारी इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी देश के हर आदमी को, हर सेक्टर को स्पर्श करती है. उनकी इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी सिर्फ एक बहुत सीमित दायरे के लोगों के लिए बनी हुई है. हम आखिरी आदमी तक पहुंच रहे हैं, वो सिर्फ ऊपर ही ऊपर तैर रहे हैं.
वो तो आपके बारे में भी यही कहते हैं कि ये अमीरों की पार्टी है.
जी नहीं, हम तो, अरे क्या पूछिए, अगर हम अमीरों की पार्टी हैं तो फिर गरीबों की पार्टी किसे कहेंगे, हमारी समझ में नहीं आता। सवाल यह है कि हमने जो कुछ लिखा है, आपने तो मैनिफेस्टो गौर किया ही होगा, हम शुरू ही यहाँ से करते हैं कि हमारा लक्ष्य वेल्थ को, संपत्ति को पैदा करना और उसे आखिरी आदमी तक पहुंचाना है। इसका जिक्र वहां नहीं है, इसके बारे में उन्हें चिंता भी नहीं है, क्योंकि अभी भी आप देखें तो हिंदुस्तान में पिछले 10 सालों में डिस्पैरिटी बढ़ी।
टॉक अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट द डिले इन द मैनिफेस्टो। आपने बहुत बार कहा है इट वाज अ लॉजिस्टिकल इशू, लेकिन माना जाता है दैट देयर वर सीरियस डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन यू एंड नरेंद्र मोदी ऑन द इशू ऑफ स्वदेशी। ही वांटेड अ मोर राइट ऑफ सेंटर इकोनॉमिक्स, यू वांटेड स्वदेशी। इज देयर एन इम्प्रिंट ऑफ स्वदेशी इन दिस मैनिफेस्टो? आप मानते हैं कि इस मैनिफेस्टो में स्वदेशी की झलक है कि आप पे प्रेशर आया निकालने के लिए या टोन डाउन करने के लिए?
देखिए, न तो इसमें कोई मतभेद है, ना ही इसमें कोई दबाव है। 26 मार्च को ये मैनिफेस्टो का ड्राफ्ट जो कमेटी ने पास किया था वो पेश कर दिया गया 26 मार्च में। उसके बाद इसमें यह देखा गया कि इलेक्शन कमीशन की कोई गाइडलाइन तो हम किसी तरह से वायलेट नहीं कर रहे, उनकी जो हमारे लिए जो कुछ हिदायतें हैं वो अपनी जगह पे ठीक हैं या नहीं। उसके बाद फिर पार्टी के जो पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड के मेंबर्स हैं उनका फाइनल डिस्कशन हुआ। फिर ये हुआ कि इस मैनिफेस्टो को सब एक साथ रिलीज करें तो वो ज्यादा इंप्रेसिव होगा।
So you're saying logistics was the reason for the delay?
और कुछ नहीं।
But what about the Swadeshi difference of opinion? Difference of opinion on Swadeshi?
कोई डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन नहीं है। सारा जो हमारा थ्रस्ट है मैनिफेस्टो में वो इस देश की ताकत पर है, वाइटैलिटी ऑफ दिस कंट्री,
Do you think Swadeshi?
The resilience of the country, the way the country can progress if it has a self confidence. अब इसको आप स्वदेशी भी कह सकते हैं, इसको आप एक पावरफुल नेशन की अर्ज भी कह सकते हैं। ये आपके देखने का नजरिया है। मैं नहीं मानता कि कोई भी आदमी, कोई भी समझदार लोग इसको देख के ये कहेंगे कि इसमें कहीं स्वदेशी या गैर स्वदेशी का झगड़ा है। एक सीधी सी बात है कि किसी देश को आगे आना है तो उसको अपनी ताकत और अपनी कमजोरी पहचानना होगा।
Is Swadeshi form of economics still relevant?
Swadeshi is always relevant, whether it is economy, whether it is development, whether it is foreign policy, but everything. क्यों? जब ओबामा संकट में आता है तो वो कहता है बी अमेरिकन बाई अमेरिकन। ये क्या है? जब यूरोपियन यूनियन कहते हैं कि भाई रूस से हटके रहो और यूरोपियन यूनियन को बचा के रखो, ये क्या है? अपनी जमीन के ऊपर खड़े होकर तरक्की करना अगर स्वदेशी है तो हम स्वदेशी 10 दफे हैं, और अगर दूसरों की नकल करना प्रोग्रेस है तो हम कभी नहीं। हमने साफ कहा है कि इंडिया इनोवेट्स एंड इंडिया लीड्स।
Is an example of Swadeshi the decision to oppose FDI in multi-brand retail? आप इसको स्वदेशी का उदाहरण मानेंगे? और अगर आपकी सरकार बनती है, will you overturn the previous decision of FDI in multi-brand retail?
As far FDI is concerned, it has been our consistent stand that FDI is welcome to create wealth,
yes,
to bring technology, to create assets. If any FDI creates jobs, creates wealth, brings technology, it's welcome. उसको हमने कभी अपोज नहीं। FDI में, मल्टी ब्रांड FDI में जो इशू है वो इशू है हजारों हजार आम पटरी पर छोटे दुकानदार पर पड़ने वाला असर, किसानों पर पड़ने वाला असर। मल्टी ब्रांड FDI कभी सस्ता नहीं करती।
पर ये ऑप्शनल है स्टेट्स के लिए, जो स्टेट्स
वो
नहीं
तो गलत है उनका कहना। क्यों करें? हम कहते हैं करें क्यों? आप एक रेलवे में जो दुकान लगाता है ना, वेंडर जो होता है, इसमें आप बाहरी आदमी को आने की इजाजत देंगे? अरे आपके यहाँ 7 करोड़ लोग इस रिटेल पर निर्भर करते हैं।
So will you scrap the present order?
और 7 करोड़ ऑर्डर अभी है, अभी तो ऑर्डर
एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर से उन्होंने
तो वो गलत है, वो गलत है। और उन्हीं की स्टेट्स ने नहीं किया, केरल ने नहीं किया, उन्हीं की स्टेट। एक सिर्फ दिल्ली को छोड़ के बाकी तो किसी ने उसको।
पर जब ऑप्शनल है स्टेट्स के लिए, why don't you want to give states the autonomy to decide for themselves?
ये ऑटोनॉमी का नहीं है सवाल, ये सवाल है हिंदुस्तान के 7 करोड़ खुदरा व्यापारी और 7 करोड़ कृषि सेक्टर में काम करने वाले लोगों की जिंदगी और मौत का सवाल।
पर आप बाकी सेक्टर्स में तो आने दे रहे हैं।
बाकी सेक्टर्स
आप डिफेंस इंश्योरेंस की बात करें
नहीं, हमने डिफेंस की बात की है इसलिए क्योंकि उसमें क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजी और एसेट फॉर्मेशन, जॉब क्रिएशन, इस सब की गुंजाइश है। जहां जहां है वहां हम उसको मानते हैं, जहां नहीं है वो नहीं मानते। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में लाइए ना। ये मल्टीनेशनल्स का FDI सिर्फ अगर आप ये देखें कि उसका इनफ्लो कितना है और आउटफ्लो कितना है, तो आपको पता लग जाएगा कि हमारी इकोनॉमी पर उसका क्या असर। इट इज नॉट एट ऑल ए हेल्दी सिस्टम टू डिपेंड अपॉन फॉरेन इंजेक्शंस टू कीप योर सेल्फ नॉन एनीमिक।
Let me ask you though, there are those who say, and both BJP leaders and Congress leaders have spoken about Narendra Modi's imprint on this manifesto. Some have even said ये manifesto नहीं, ये Modi festo है. Do you accept that, Joshi ji, and how did that make you feel as the chairman of the manifesto committee? ये नरेंद्र मोदी का manifesto है कि मुरली मनोहर जोशी?
ये पार्टी का manifesto है, ये किसी एक इंडिविजुअल का manifesto नहीं होगा।
इसमें मिस्टर मोदी का कितना imprint है?
मोदी साहब चूंकि पार्टी के प्राइम मिनिस्ट्रियल कैंडिडेट हैं, उनके भी इनपुट्स हैं, इसमें राजनाथ जी के भी इनपुट्स हैं, इसमें वेंकैया के भी इनपुट्स हैं, इसमें 1 लाख लोगों के इनपुट्स हैं, इसमें आम मजदूर के भी इनपुट्स हैं, इसमें उस माइनॉरिटी वाले के भी इनपुट्स हैं जो कहता है ये 15 सूत्री प्रोग्राम फेल हो गया। तो ये इससे टोटली, लेकिन जो प्राइम मिनिस्ट्रियल कैंडिडेट होता है उसकी कुछ अगर विजन के बारे में कोई शब्दावली होती है, उसको रखना है। ये मतलब नहीं होता कि ये उसने ही बनाया है। ये सही है कि कुछ ऐसी शब्दावलियां हैं जिसको वो अपनी स्पीचेस में प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें नुकसान क्या है? अगर वो अगर मिसेस गांधी कहती थी गरीबी हटाओ जी, ये अगर किसी मैनिफेस्टो में आ गया तो इसका मतलब था कि मैनिफेस्टो इंदिरा गांधी का मैनिफेस्टो था, कांग्रेस पार्टी का नहीं था। इंडिया इनोवेट्स एंड इंडिया लीड्स, इंडिया डजंट कॉपी, ये मेरा नारा है, उसमें है कि नहीं? तो आप क्या कहेंगे? आफ्टर ऑल जो भी शब्दावली अपने आइडियाज को कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए हम प्रयोग करते हैं वो कभी आप कर सकते हैं, कभी मैं कर सकता हूं, कभी।
लेकिन ये कहा जा रहा है कि मोदी जी की जो जनवरी स्पीच थी नेशनल काउंसिल में उन्होंने जो स्पीच रखी, तो दिस मैनिफेस्टो इज इन मेनी पार्ट्स अ रेप्लिकेशन ऑफ दैट स्पीच।
नहीं, वो नहीं है बिल्कुल भी, लेकिन मोदी जी के आइडियाज एज ए प्राइम मिनिस्ट्रियल कैंडिडेट वो उसमें जरूर होंगे, इसमें नुकसान क्या है?
But it's not a Modi festo.
It is a BJP manifesto.
Not a Modi festo.
No, BJP manifesto. दिस इज द पॉजिटिव थिंग। ये जो सवाल है ना कि एक इंडिविजुअल को घेरने का, तो ये ऐसे ही है जैसे कोई कांग्रेस के मैनिफेस्टो को कहे ये राहुल का राग है, तो क्या कहोगे उसे आप?
बहुत से आइडियाज जो 100 न्यू सिटीज की आइडियाज हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल जो 5 T's हैं टूरिज्म टैलेंट वगैरह के जो उन्होंने बात की, दे हैव फाउंड देयर वे इनटू द मैनिफेस्टो।
ये कहना कि हम 100 नए शहर बनाएंगे जी, ये अगर किसी मैनिफेस्टो में आता है और उसका अधिकांश उपयोग अपनी भाषणों में नरेंद्र भाई ने किया है, तो इसका क्या मतलब कि सारा मैनिफेस्टो में 100 सिटी है? अब ये भी एक पॉइंट है, ये उनकी एक सोच है इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के लिए कि भाई टूरिज्म एक उसके लिए हो सकता है, उसके लिए ट्रेड एक तरीका हो सकता है, उसके लिए हमारी जो ट्रेडिशंस की बहुत सी अच्छी चीज़ें वो हो सकती हैं। तो इसमें क्या ये ठीक है, सिनोनिम्स होते हैं, एक्रोनिम्स होते हैं, यूज किए जाते हैं, और वो नरेंद्र भाई ने किए हैं, तो ये कोई गलत बात थोड़ी। प्राइम मिनिस्ट्रियल कैंडिडेट हैं, अब उनकी बहुत सी बातें हम जनता के सामने रखेंगे कि हाँ ये।
What is the influence of the RSS on this manifesto?
The influence of RSS is as much as the influence of RSS on BJP or on Narendra.
But that is a very strong and deep influence.
And Mr. Narendra Bhai. So what you see, everything which we do has some inspiration from RSS.
But should the RSS have an influence on your manifesto?
No, I'm saying manifesto.
Then?
I say on BJP's thinking about country's development, about country's strength, about country's failings. That is there.
But did the RSS send its inputs on this manifesto?
Not RSS, but many of the organizations like you see the Kisan Sangh, like the Mazdoor Sangh, like the Vidyarthi Parishad, they have sent their inputs. Just like other labor organizations.
पर जब आप कहते हैं कि इस मैनिफेस्टो पे आरएसएस का उतना इन्फ्लुएंस है जितना पार्टी पर है, थोड़ा विस्तार से बताएं व्हाट यू मीन।
उसका मतलब यही है कि देश, मैंने बताया ना कि देश के बारे में, देशभक्ति के बारे में, देश के विकास के बारे में, देश की आर्थिक तरक्की के बारे में, देश के अंदर एक आत्मविश्वास के साथ आगे बढ़ने की इच्छा के बारे में ये संघ बहुत बोल रहा है।
आइडियोलॉजिकल इंस्पिरेशन डिराइव्स इटसेल्फ फ्रॉम द
इंस्पिरेशन तो हमारी पार्टी के हजारों लोग संघ से लेते रहे, इसमें कोई छिपी बात थोड़ी। और इसको अगर आप कितना भी कहें, ये नेगेटिव नहीं है।
नहीं, क्योंकि आरएसएस कहती है हम पॉलिटिकल नहीं, हम कल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन।
पॉलिटिकली कल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का ये मतलब नहीं है कि उनको देश के विकास की चिंता नहीं है और देश की संस्कृति में विकास नहीं है। कोई संस्कृति किसी देश की बिना विकास के, बिना आम आदमी की चिंता के हो सकती है क्या? That will be highly uncultured society जो जिसमें आम आदमी के बारे में कोई विचार ही नहीं करे।
मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी, आपने कल्चर की बात की, जहां पर यहाँ पे ये सवाल उठता है, हैज हिंदुत्व, हैज द राम मंदिर become a footnote? इसलिए पूछ रही हूं because there's been a lot of media focus on the fact कि पेज 41 में आया, it is half a page. Is there a shift in the BJP?
2009 का मैनिफेस्टो
में भी उतनी ही जगह थी,
उतनी जगह थी। जो कल्चरल इश्यूज हैं जी, जो नेशन के लोगों के सामने हैं, उनको भी हमने उसमें हाईलाइट किया है कि भाई ये इश्यूज हैं और इनके बारे में ये हमारा कंसर्न है बीजेपी का, ये हमारा एटीट्यूड है। इसमें क्या आपत्ति है? क्या जेंडर इक्वालिटी नहीं होनी चाहिए?
पर एक बदलाव आया है विद मोर ऑफ अ फोकस ऑन इश्यूज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, ऑन इश्यूज ऑफ विकास देन ऑन इश्यूज ऑफ आइडेंटिटी।
देखिए, अगर मैंने तो पार्टी के लगभग सारे ही मैनिफेस्टो बनाए अभी तक, एक आध बार छोड़ के जब आप देखेंगे कि हर एक में जितना है उतना ही है। मगर एक मीडिया का भी एक देखने का नजरिया है, क्योंकि आपको भी अपनी टीआरपी बढ़ानी होती है, तो कुछ ना कुछ तो आप निकालेंगे इसमें। ऐसा नहीं है। हम जो कहते आ रहे हैं शुरू से, अगर आप हमारा पालमपुर का रेजोल्यूशन देखें और वहां से आज तक देखें, तो जो हमने कहा उसमें कोई शिफ्ट भी नहीं है, कोई बदलाव भी नहीं है, कोई उसके अंदर ऐसी चीज भी नहीं कि जैसे आप कह सकें कि आपने हिंदुत्व रखा था या हिंदुत्व छोड़ दिया या बढ़ा दिया या घटा।
पर आप एक बात तो मानेंगे, क्योंकि हम उत्तर प्रदेश में हैं, कानपुर में हैं, जितना 90s में बीजेपी की पॉलिटिकल कैंपेन में अयोध्या जैसे मुद्दों पर फोकस होता था, वो आज सुनने को नहीं मिलता।
देखिए, आज किसी समय मुद्दा पाकिस्तान के बारे में उठता था, अखंड भारत के बारे में उठता था।
मुद्दे बदलते हैं ना?
बदलते हैं, परिस्थिति के मुताबिक मुद्दे बदलते हैं। कुछ मुद्दे ऐसे होते हैं कि जो एक जिसको कहते हैं ना आप रिफ्रेन ऑफ द म्यूजिक, कुछ मुद्दे ऐसे होते हैं कि जो समय के हिसाब से आते हैं। जब 62 की लड़ाई हुई थी चीन की, मुझे पता नहीं तब आप रेडियो में थी या किस में थी या नहीं थी, मुद्दा चीन की लड़ाई था, हिमालय बचाओ था, जवाहरलाल की और मिस्टर कृष्ण मेनन की।
मैं आपकी बात मानती हूँ, मैं यही पूछ रही हूँ कि मुद्दे क्या बदल गए हैं?
मुद्दे बदल नहीं गए, मुद्दे तो वही हैं, एम्फेसिस बदलता है। उस पर किस पर कितना जोर है। किसी वक्त गरीबी हटाओ पर जोर था, किसी वक्त इमरजेंसी एक मुद्दा था। क्या कमाल था इमरजेंसी के समय, और क्या जनता में
तो आज के दिन विद द चेंजिंग कॉन्टेक्स्ट, व्हाट रेलेवेंस डू दीज इश्यूज हैव इन द बीजेपी's पॉलिटिक्स?
द इशू इज नॉट इन द पॉलिटिक्स, द इशू इज इन द कल्चरल एसेंस ऑफ दिस कंट्री, कि ये चीजें हैं जो हिंदुस्तान की कल्चर में इंपॉर्टेंस रखती हैं और इनका संरक्षण बीजेपी करना चाहती है। राम सेतु फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इट इज ए हेरिटेज। सारा सदन खड़ा हो गया था जब मैं राम सेतु पर बोल रहा था, और यही राम सेतु का इशू है जिस पर सरकार को पलटी करनी पड़ी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में। तो हम ये बताना चाहते हैं, गंगा क्यों आपने उसको राष्ट्रीय नदी घोषित किया, क्यों किया, और कर दिया तो उसको गंदा क्यों बना के रखा है, उसका फ्लो क्यों रोक दिया? शुड बी नॉट से इट?
But you've had Congress leaders like Mr. Chidambaram criticize these elements in your manifesto, saying they show the same majoritarianism of the BJP.
Majoritarianism तो उसमें कहीं नहीं है। कोई भी मैनिफेस्टो मेजॉरिटी के ख्याल से और माइनॉरिटी को या किसी तबके को नुकसान पहुंचाने के ख्याल से बनाया ही नहीं जा सकता। लेकिन कोई मैनिफेस्टो सिर्फ किसी खास तबके को फायदा पहुंचाने के लिए अगर बनाया जाता है तो वो गलत है। अगर प्रधानमंत्री ये कहते हैं कि रिसोर्सेज के ऊपर सिर्फ फलाने सेक्शन का हक है, ये गलत है।
You're talking about his statement that minorities should have first right on resources.
तो ये क्या सही बात है? तो बिल्कुल गलत बात है। अगर मैं कहना ही है तो मैं मानूंगा कि रिसोर्सेज का सबसे ज्यादा उपयोग गरीबी हटाने में, गरीब आदमी के हक में होना चाहिए।
पर आपने धर्म की बात की, आप मानेंगे कि मैनिफेस्टो से एक आइडियोलॉजिकल, फॉर लैक ऑफ अ बेटर वर्ड, मैं कंफ्यूजन वर्ड यूज करती हूँ, इज देयर एन आइडियोलॉजिकल कंफ्यूजन? इसलिए पूछ रही हूँ बिकॉज 90% ऑफ दिस मैनिफेस्टो डील्स विद इश्यूज दैट आर नॉट रिलेटेड टू आइडेंटिटी पॉलिटिक्स। दे आर रिलेटेड टू द इकोनॉमी, दे आर रिलेटेड टू अ विजन फॉर इंडिया। एक तरफ माना जाता है that the BJP and नरेंद्र मोदी want to run this election on विकास, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ उन्हीं के जो क्लोज एड है अमित शाह, उनके खिलाफ हेट स्पीच का एक FIR दर्ज हुआ है। इसलिए पूछ रही हूँ जोशी जी, reconcile for me as the chairman of the manifesto committee the ideological inconsistency that in western UP Amit Shah is talking about badla and in the manifesto the BJP is talking about development.
Barkha ji, you have every right to be confused, but you have
सवाल
no
पूछ रही हूँ।
right, but you have no right to confuse me and the people.
But how do you see this contradiction?
Why are you confusing two things?
Are they not connected? Are they not connected?
No, manifesto is one thing. My statement on a particular issue is another thing.
Okay.
These are two different things. And you are not, you should be intelligently mixing them, but don't mix them unintelligently. ये मत करिए कभी भी। अमित शाह ने जो कुछ कहा है वो किसी खास कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कहा होगा, मैंने सुना नहीं उसको, लेकिन अगर उन्होंने कुछ कहा है तो एक कॉन्टेक्चुअल चीज है। ये जो हम कह रहे हैं ये देश के 5 साल के आगे आने वाले पार्टी के कार्यक्रम के बारे में हम बोल रहे हैं। ये दो चीजें
पर एक आइडियोलॉजिकल मैसेज तो आप कन्वे कर रहे हैं ना मैनिफेस्टो में, व्हिच अमित शाह स्टेटमेंट्स कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट।
डजंट। अमित शाह का स्टेटमेंट तो अनरिलेटेड है इससे। आप You are mixing apples with oranges.
But you have said today the senior leaders must speak with care. आपने बोला है।
मैंने ये कभी नहीं कहा कि with one speak. मैंने कहा कि सीनियर लीडर्स इस मैनिफेस्टो को एक साथ रिलीज करें तो उसमें शोभा होगी, और ये इसलिए शोभा होगी कि हमारी एक लीडरशिप की रेंज है वो भी सबके सामने आनी चाहिए, और इस मैनिफेस्टो में जितने इनपुट्स हैं वो भी सबके सामने आने चाहिए कि इट हैज बीन एक कॉन्सेंसस मैनिफेस्टो। जो आप लोग बार बार हल्ला मचा रहे हैं ना कि इसमें कुछ नहीं है। मैनिफेस्टो इज ए कंटिन्यूइंग डॉक्यूमेंट। अगर आप 2009 का डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ें, 2014 का डॉक्यूमेंट पढ़ें, इट इज ए कंटिन्यू, इट इज इवोल्यूशनरी डॉक्यूमेंट। इट इवॉल्व्स एज द कंट्री ग्रोज, एज द सिचुएशन इवॉल्व्स, सो डज द मैनिफेस्टो इवॉल्व। For the first time we have talked about disabled in such a long, For the first time we have talked about artisans, because we find that a large number of artisans are suffering because there has been no economic policy for them. So now we are talking of foreign policy also.
Do you brought up foreign policy. Can you explain why this where you stand on no first use when it comes to India's nuclear doctrine?
What we have said.
ये बहुत जरूरी सवाल है।
देखिए, हाँ, बहुत जरूरी सवाल है, उसका बहुत अच्छा जवाब भी है। What we say is this, that the geostrategical situation evolves.
Yes.
The nuclear technology evolves.
Yes.
The application of nuclear technology evolves. So what we say is this, that we will review, re-examine and see what deficiencies are there and how to.
So if there is a BJP government, will it review no first use?
We have never said. ये तो policy हमारी थी।
मुझे मालूम है, तभी पूछ रही हूँ। What do you mean?
There are so many other aspects. How to go about MCTR, how to deal with the other nuclear commerce, how to deal with the thorium technology, how to use thorium for geostrategical purposes. So there are so many aspects of every policy. People are concerned whether this policy will go against the American doctrines or whether it will be only Chinese centered. No. It will be a totally India centered policy.
Let's step back from the manifesto as we end. I want to focus a little bit on the politics of where we are. We are in Kanpur. You are busy with your campaign. There has been a lot of indication, Joshi ji, that you were not happy at being moved to Kanpur. You wanted to contest from Varanasi. You even sought a clarification from Rajnath Singh. Are you feeling disappointed that the party took this decision?
Again, you see that this has been a very typical media propagation of something which was non-existent. The best, I may say the intelligent use of media is to create something where it is not. This is.
But is it untrue? Is it untrue? Is it untrue that you wanted to contest from Varanasi?
No. It was never the case. The case was that if you are saying something in the media, whether it is correct or not correct.
ये आपने बीजेपी प्रेसिडेंट से कहा क्लैरिफाई करने के लिए।
नहीं, आप ये बताइए कि ये जो खबरें छप रही हैं ये सही हैं या गलत है? अगर सही हैं तो ये पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड में पहले क्यों नहीं आई, और अगर गलत है तो इनका खंडन क्यों नहीं किया गया? क्या बात? कोई भी आदमी जिसने किसी पर्टिकुलर आदमी को या लीडर को पार्लियामेंट में प्राइम मिनिस्ट्रियल कैंडिडेट के तौर पर प्रोजेक्ट किया होगा, विल ही बी सच ए नाइव कि वो ये कहेगा कि मैं इसको इस सीट से नहीं लड़ने दूंगा? है a person of my political standing, do you mean to say that I will be naive enough or fool enough to say कि साहब prime ministerial candidate should not get this seat? It's not the case.
So what were you upset about?
I'm not never.
उस टाइम जब आपने clarification मांगा?
Clarification news जो आपका सबसे ज़्यादा आपका चैनल कर रहा था, that you are trying to create something which was non-existent. कि साहब कोई मतभेद कहाँ था? हमने कहा आप आइए ना, हम जो my straightforward statement was let the parliamentary board takes a decision who contests from where.
You are up against Sri Prakash Jaiswal here, who is saying what?
I'm not up against him. I'm only for the people of Kanpur.
जो एक criticism आता है कांग्रेस की तरफ से, that Joshi ji is an outsider to Kanpur, उसके बारे में आप क्या बोलेंगे?
If Mrs. Sonia Gandhi is a resident of Raebareli, is Mr. Rahul Gandhi a resident of Amethi? Did Indira Gandhi, while contesting from Chikmagalur, was a resident of that place? Look. And what is this outsider look? What is this? Everybody who is a voter, who is entitled to contest from any place, can contest from any place. But the trouble is if somebody feels that he has been doing something on because he was a member from Kanpur, then people of the Kanpur have a right to know, well, gentlemen, as a local person, what has been happening in the Ministry of Coal. They have a right to ask or not. Can somebody say, can this question not be asked by you or by anybody?
Of course.
So if the question is asked, this pinches. So, so you have no other argument except to say, somebody can say all Aryans are outsiders. Why should they be in this country?
Okay.
What is this?
Let me end by asking you one last question. Do you accept that this is a more polarized election than before?
Well, I have been always saying that in all elections there is a polarization, sometimes less, sometimes more.
And this time, is it more?
No, it's almost the same. I would say this is less than what happened in 1977.
But more than the last election?
Yes, from 2009 it is more polarized, no doubt, because then the issues were not so clear as they have come now, because this record of the government for last 10 years belies all what they did and promised in their manifestos or whatever they promised to the people. And people are now today more aware of the issues, of the leadership, of the character of leaders, and so they are now almost say with a very discerning eye.
Murli Manohar Joshi, thank you so much for joining us on your campaign trail in Kanpur.
Thank you.
Thank you.